everyone. I would like to call this Committee of Housing and Homelessness Prevention to order. There is a quorum present. First of all, welcome back, members and members of the public. The opening weeks this year will look a bit different in the Senate. Co-Chair Lucero and I will be sharing the responsibility for this committee. I will be chairing this week, and he will be chairing next week, and we'll just continue through that, through our responsibility sharing phase. We do have some new and returning colleagues to the committee, which we will just continue our work to look seriously at the issues facing housing, facing Minnesotans when it comes to housing across our state. To set the stage for today, as we have new members on the committee, we'll begin with introductions, a refresher of the committee's jurisdiction, and then a presentation from the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. We will also take a little bit of time to remember the contributions of our cherished departed colleague, Senator Carrie Dziedzic, to the work and the existence of this housing community. I'd like to just start with introductions. A note to our new note that our new Housing Committee Administrator, Courtney Schaaf, is unfortunately sick today, but we will look forward to her being back soon. And so if we could just go around the table and please share your name, your position, and for members, what is the one thing you hope to accomplish on the Housing Committee this year? I will just start that I am co-chair Senator Lindsay Port. I represent District 55, which is Burnsville and Savage. And I am looking forward to having conversations about how we can remove barriers to building more of the housing that we need. Senator Abler, would you like to get us kicked off?
Well, thanks for having me. I'm definitely the new kid here. We're in the cool kids corner, but I'm at the end of the line, so maybe there's a message in that. But I'm really happy to be here. Representing District 35, which is Anoka, Coon Rapids, and Andover. And there's actually two things, if I could mention. One is the HOA thing, which I will spare my discussions about that. And the second is senior housing, which in my area is somewhat occupied by a very ruthless operating system. And I won't say the name right now, but it might come up sometime, which I think is just horribly wrong and immoral. So hope to work on some of that and make it safe for these seniors to actually afford their housing. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome to the committee. Senator Putnam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Eric. I represent District 14, the greater St. Cloud area. The two things that I really want to accomplish this session is to focus a great deal of attention on some of the exploitation of folks who live in manufactured housing. And secondly, not to get detention because of this row in which I'm sitting, and I realize that we are likely to get punished a great deal. And I'd like that detention to be brief and fun.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair Port, and really looking forward to this committee again. And I'm just grateful to be part of the housing discussion. And first off, my district, for those of you who don't know, runs pretty much northwest to Jordan all the way down to Iowa. I have the leftover district, mainly small towns, and fantastic area of the state, a little diverse. But housing affects every one of those little communities that I represent, and a lot of different challenges. And I hope we have open discussion like we have in the past years in this committee. And I'm glad to have the new members here to bring a different discussion. And you know, the HOA, the senior housing, manufactured home communities have been stuff we've been working on, and we got a lot of work to do. And it'll be interesting with the budget constraints that are coming quick. You know, how our targets look and how we find that soft landing for our upcoming $5 to $6 billion budget deficit. So I'm glad that you're chair and Senator Lucero's chair, and you'll have to deal with that budget deficit. So. Thank you.
Senator Pye.
Thank you, Chair Port. So I'm super excited to get started in this session again. It's Exciting to be here and get to the swing of things again. For me, for this year, I'd love to concentrate on HOA, some of the stuff that's been going out of the HOA work group, and taking some of those suggestions and recommendations onto our committee and some of the other committees to discuss. The other thing is diversity in housing has been really important to me when it comes to the building of new housing, especially when it comes to starter homes, ADUs, and more of the 2 to 4 units, the smaller units of a multi-housing. And so those are really important. I'm hoping that we can make strides in that because we do need more diversity in our housing stock when it comes to development here in Minnesota. Excited for that work. I think I forgot to say what district I represent. District 38, Brooklyn Park, Brooklyn Center, and Osseo.
Eric?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Eric Olofsson, and I'm the new nonpartisan fiscal analyst for this committee. Thank you.
Welcome to the committee. Ms. Painter?
Hello, everyone. I'm Laura Painter. I'm the nonpartisan legislative analyst for this committee.
Thank you. I'm CJ Larson, Committee Legislative Assistant, and excited to be back. Thanks.
Mr. Co-Chair?
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. I am very excited about this committee. I've appreciated the conversations in the last 2 years. We've been able to work together. I very much am excited about the new members. The topic of housing is just so exciting to me. It gives me an adrenaline rush every time I go into it, even more than cybersecurity and firewalls. So it's definitely exciting. Demonstrate how this has been a collaborative effort. I've been to the invite. I took up the invite from Senator Pa a couple years ago to come to a housing conversation in her community. Just a couple weeks ago, I took up the offer from Senator Muhammad to go down and look at an office building conversion into residential housing. Definitely interesting. I drive through Senator Abler's community on a regular basis. I drive through Senator Pa's community on a regular basis. I don't quite get out to Senator Draheim's community very often. So, but nevertheless, it is definitely a very important topic and is one that is bipartisan. And I look forward to continuing to brainstorm and come up with those policies and priorities which are going to lead to home ownership, which is one of the major steps towards generational wealth. And so again, very excited about this committee, and I think my co-chair would agree that this is probably the funnest committee in the legislature. So thank you again, Madam Co-Chair.
Senator Bolden?
Thank you, Chair Port. I am very excited to be back as well. So I'm Liz Bolden. I represent District 25, which is most of Rochester and some areas north of Rochester. In addition to many of the topics that my colleagues have shared, I would just name a couple more. I am eager to talk about the intersection of housing and health, in particular mental health. I hope we have some conversations about that. Want to be sure that we are focusing on a healthcare, or a housing ecosystem that works for Minnesotans and not just giant corporations. And having some conversations around how we are protecting the rights of folks experiencing homelessness.
Senator Mohammed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, everybody. I'm Zaida Mohammed. I represent Senate District 63, which is South Minneapolis, a little bit of Southeast, and a tiny bit of Southwest Minneapolis. And it is good to be back in this committee. This is my favorite committee. And this year, I am really looking forward to obviously thinking about ways that we can build more housing. I'm thinking a lot about ways that we can reimagine downtown Minneapolis, downtown St. Paul, and all of the properties and buildings that we do have and repurposing them, hopefully, into housing and how we can do that. Home ownership is a top priority of mine, as it has been the last 2 years. I think it's one of the most important things, as Senator Lucero said, for our communities in ways that, that they can build generational wealth. And the more that we can do that, I think it was one of the most successful programs that we did last year, and the more investments we can make that way, the better it is for our community. But it is good to be back and good to see you, co-chairs.
Senator Housley, would you like to introduce yourself, the district you represent, and anything you're looking forward to on housing this year?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry we are late. We have a meeting, a standing meeting at noon every day that this is, so I'm sorry, we apologize.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. Senator Karin Housley, I represent Senate District 33, which is Stillwater, Forest Lake, and the surrounding St. Croix Valley. Nice to see some new members on our committee. Not that the old members weren't fun, but we're spicing it up. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Abler and Coleman. Yeah, being in real estate for the last 25 years, home ownership is extremely important, especially for first-time home buyers. I think I've shared with this committee before that of our 4 children, one of them ended up moving to South Carolina because he could get a lot more house for them. He actually couldn't afford one here, so I have one in South Carolina. So first-time home buyers is one of my top priorities. Thank you.
Senator Coleman.
Hello, also apologize for being late. We are working on getting that standing meeting moved. I am Julia Coleman. I represent Senate District 48, which is Waconia East through Chanhassen. I'm mostly excited to learn more about this. I've been on the same committees all 4 years of my time in the legislature, and this is a whole new area for me, as well as I'll be in human services new as well. So I'm excited to learn new things. I've kind of experienced every end of the spectrum in housing, from my home in Waconia, starter home in Chan, renting, to even when I was really young, a 3-season porch without heat. So I've been in all of it, and I'm looking forward to how we can increase access for Minnesotans to home ownership and stable housing. So I'm pumped to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to the committee. Jack?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jack Dudley. I'm the legislative assistant to Vice Chair Bolden.
Thank you. I also want to acknowledge our talented partisan research staff, Will Freeman and Andy Larson, who hide back there. And a welcome to our value committee pages, Senny, Michael, and a special welcome back to Olivia. Before we dive into our work today, I would like to take a few minutes to honor the contributions of Senator Carrie Dziedzic. When I was first elected to the Senate, you hand in a list of the committees that you want to be on, and housing was not on my list. I didn't know anything about housing policy. And the night before we got our committee assignments, I got a call from our majority leader, or our minority leader at that time, and she said, "I'm really sorry. I can put you on some of your committees, but I have to put you on housing." And I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll figure it out. But I knew nothing going in. And it was a pretty small committee. Senator Draheim was chairing. And for the Democratic side, it was just Senator Dziedzic, myself, and Senator Anrest. And Senator Dziedzic just completely took me under her wing. She was the person who I guess I would describe as like not just doing her own homework, she did everyone's homework. She knew every bill that was coming before our committee. She knew the pros and the cons. She knew different sides, what everybody was thinking. She was so thoughtful about how she moved through the legislature in general, but especially housing. And really opened up the opportunity for conversations and for bipartisanship or nonpartisanship to be a very central tone in housing. We started looking through her housing accomplishments in the last few weeks, and it's basically anything we've ever passed. Carrie Dziedzic had her fingers in. She championed the new requirements for fire sprinklers in high-rise buildings following a tragic fire in Minneapolis in 2019. She fought to ensure safety and dignity in rental housing through special essential investments and repairs in public housing and NOAA housing. She pushed hard against predatory investors purchasing single-family homes and opened up pathways for home ownership for families across the state, especially to correct racial disparities in home ownership. She promoted and advocated for the advancement of manufactured and workforce housing across the state and helped to pass tenant protections. Her legacy really laid the foundation for the work that we achieved last biennium, including down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers, local affordable housing aid, voicemail services for individuals experiencing homelessness, and protections for renters. Her original authorship of the Bring It Home program in 2021 paved the way for Minnesota's new rental voucher program that Senator Mohammed carried on. And that means her work will continue to have tangible, real-life impacts on Minnesotans for generations to come. I made it through that without crying. I'm really impressed. I would now like to invite Senator Draheim. I know you worked so closely with Carrie to say a few words about her impact on housing and on your relationship.
Thank you, Chair Port. And, I think you covered, a lot of it, but, I think what you talked about, it was the visible things she worked on. There was so much behind the scenes that Senator Dziedzic was a leader that you could have a conversation with, and she would listen and ask questions in a way that you knew she got it or was trying to understand it and understand your perspective. And I think that's a lost art, and I really appreciated that. And, I begged for a housing committee, and I don't think I would have been able to get it without her lobbying for it on her side of the aisle. And you think about it, we have probably the most different districts between Carrie and myself, being, 30-some small towns, and her being one big town. And, her life was this body. She worked so hard for her district, and almost every night she had meetings with constituents. And a lot of them were housing related, and the struggles that a lot of people face in different housing environments. So she will be missed by her district, probably more than us, to be honest. And, but her legacy will live on, her memory will live on. And, I think all of us should remember that when we start to get mad at each other, that, like the bracelets that I see, what would Jesus do? What would Carrie do in this case? When working across the aisle, especially, the way we ended session last year, I was really, really worried about how to start session this year. And, and I think of Carrie throughout that, and grateful on how well we've started this session. I know things will change when money comes out. The daggers will come out when the money comes out, but Carrie was very good at governing, and she governed a lot behind the scenes and talked to people that had a stake in whatever program we were working on, and I can always appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Draheim. In folks' packets and also available for the back of the room and available online for those joining us are some letters from advocates, stakeholders, folks who work in the Housing Committee, acknowledging the leadership and the support that Carrie put into this issue, really giving it the opportunity to rise up to the place where we were able to get an incredible investment in housing last biennium. So I look forward to continuing the work that she pushed us to start here and continuing to lead this committee with bipartisanship and cooperation to focus on really on the needs of Minnesotans. And with that, we will try not, I'm not going to cry. We will move on to our work in the committee today. And so with the recognition that our committee might not exist in this iteration without Senator Dziedzic's contributions and the gratitude that it does, I am now happy to ask our Senate Legislative Analyst, Laura Painter, to provide an overview of our committee jurisdiction, particularly for the new members and the public.
Madam Chair and members, the Housing and Homelessness Prevention Committee has jurisdiction over bills relating to housing and homelessness prevention. A lot of our work is focused on the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency, both in terms of budget and also policy around their programming and operations. This committee confirms the Commissioner of the Minnesota Housing Finance Agency as well as the Housing Finance Agency Board of Directors. 6 of those members are from the public and are confirmed by the Senate, and also the state auditor is on that board. We have budget jurisdiction over the Housing Finance Agency, Housing Bond Allocating Authority, and also the Housing Infrastructure Bonds. Some other topics that this committee has jurisdiction over is homelessness prevention, manufactured housing, rent control, and transitional housing.
Thank you, Ms. Painter. And just to let folks know, we will reserve the budget overview for a future hearing as we start looking at the budget proposals from the governor and from each of our caucuses. So next, I would like to turn to our commissioner. The last item on our agenda today is hearing from Minnesota Housing Finance Agency Commissioner Jennifer Ho. Commissioner, please take a moment to introduce yourself, and I notice much of your exceptional staff is in the room. Would love for you to introduce them as well.
Thank you, co-chairs, and I believe protocol is that you are the chair today, and I will address you as the chair. And I'm remembering I don't have to do anything with my microphone. Members of the committee, I'm Jennifer Ho. I am the Commissioner of Minnesota Housing. This is my 7th session in this role, and I am very much looking forward to working with those of you that have been on the committee and getting to know those of you who are newer to the committee and working with you. I am here today with Dan Kitzberger, who's my legislative director, also with me, Assistant Commissioner Ryan Bobtrug, and Amanda Welliver. We are the Minnesota contingent that you will see the most from Minnesota Housing. If it's okay with the chair, I would love to offer my favorite story of Senator Dziedzic.
Please do.
First of all, when I became commissioner and she was the ranking minority lead, I was so intimidated by the vastness of her knowledge. To be sitting in this chair as, as a new commissioner and to just deal with the atomic level of her knowledge of everything that came in front of the committee was truly intimidating at times. And I think it was just the fierceness. There was no small talk ever with Senator Dziedzic. And Ryan and I were remembering after a long day up here on the Capitol complex, we were walking down Cedar Street back to our office, and all of a sudden a car stops in the middle of the road, a window goes down, and not hello, Commissioner, not anything like that, but a very, very detailed numeric question about a specific housing bill stopped in the middle of Cedar Street, yelling to us on the sidewalk. I believe my response is, we'll get back to you as soon as we can, Senator Dziedzic. But to me, that just characterizes the fact that she never stopped. She never stopped, and her grasp of the details was just so incredible. I know for the whole housing community, she'll be missed. So thank you for letting me offer that. Just for those of you who don't know me, again, this is my 7th session as commissioner, for which I am grateful. I love this job, not every day, but I love this job in general all the time. I came to housing slow. I spent my first 10 years in managed healthcare, and that's really where I learned or started thinking about the intersection between homelessness and health, a topic that is still one that I'm very involved in. I had the opportunity after running a nonprofit and working up here for 11 sessions to go into federal service. I was 7 years at the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness and 4 years in the HUD Secretary's office. And then I had a couple years in between before I got the opportunity to step into this role. So really since 1999, I've been working on homelessness policy, and since I went to HUD, I've been working on housing policy as well. So I am just, I'm just really grateful to be back and working with all of you. I know that you are all champions of housing. Senator Chairport, I did not realize that you weren't the day that you came into the committee for the first time, but you certainly are now, and really appreciated the go around and hearing people's specific interests in the issue. I do look forward to spending time with each of you individually at a time and in a manner that's the most convenient for you. Rachel, Franco, and Dan will be reaching out if they haven't already in order to set up time. So on to the agency. Our core mission is that housing is foundational to a full life and a thriving state. So we equitably collaborate with individuals, communities, and partners to create, preserve, and finance housing that is affordable. You'll hear me talk about housing that is affordable as opposed to affordable housing, because it seems to me that nobody wants unaffordable housing. Affordable housing is a goal to which we all aspire. It's just that some folks need an extra assist in order to be able to do that. Minnesota housing is somewhat unique. We were established in 1971. So like so many folks, we had one of our big anniversaries during the pandemic when we turned 50. As Laura mentioned, we have a 7-member board of directors, including the state auditor. We have an annual independent financial audit of the agency. There are no direct appropriations for agency operations. And of course, we serve the whole state. You know, we really are a mission-driven financial institution, the state's housing bank. As such, we issue bonds and are rated by Moody's and Standard & Poor's, which is important for our lending, our homeownership lending. It allows us to do it in a way that's affordable to home buyers. It's really important that we have sound management of the financial resources, and the earnings that the agency creates through our lending allows us to invest back into housing programs. Our partnership with you is really one of the things that makes us one of the, I'd say, best housing finance agencies in the country. Not all HFAs are able to do work on homelessness. Not all HFAs are able to do work on supportive housing. We definitely outperform our size compared to many other state housing agencies. And we couldn't do that without the investments that you make in us that add to the resources that we're able to draw because of our federal programs. We do cover everything from homelessness prevention, supportive housing, rental housing, including senior housing, manufactured housing, both the units themselves, but also the communities and their infrastructure, as well as home ownership. So we really do cover the full continuum of housing. And I think it's just really important to understand that a lot of what we do is we provide the capital that allow homes to be built or allow older homes to be repaired, to give a facelift to older multifamily communities, and again, investing capital in the infrastructure of manufactured housing communities. But as well as, you know, helping those buildings, I mean, we're helping families buy their first home. And that's a big part of what we do, not just by being part of their mortgage, but also with that special help for down payment assistance. Really critical to helping folks be able to get into homeownership. So as a finance agency, this is things we don't do. We do not build or develop housing ourselves, except for the day I went down to Habitat and took my hand at the drill for a while. We don't own properties like a public housing authority or a housing and redevelopment authority might. We don't regulate housing or its development. We don't mediate landlord-tenant disputes. We don't help people find housing. We don't set or enforce local zoning or land use policies. We don't administer Section 8 housing choice vouchers. So just to distinguish us from other housing entities that might exist in your communities. When I came to Minnesota Housing in 2019, we had two main program divisions, single family and multifamily. And you can see from this slide the lists of the types of things that fall under those headings. We had within our multifamily area, an area that was focused on housing stability and homelessness. That work has become sufficiently significant that we raised it to its own division a couple years ago, and you can see the areas that are included there. And then following the 2023 session, when we got some new line items that just were designed differently than our traditional multifamily, single-family, and housing stability programs, we also created a local government housing programs area to handle those places where we're working most directly with cities, counties, and tribes. I'm always aware of all the partners that sit behind me that I can't see while I'm there, but the vast majority of the work that we do through our partners. Whether it's mortgage lenders, whether it's the actual developers, it can be service providers, various community organizations, tribes, and local governments. The lenders are the ones that are actually helping do the mortgage and the down payment assistance. They're working with the family to buy a home. We have housing counselors, a network that are helping people both with first-time homebuyer education, but also foreclosure education and prevention. Again, a huge network of both nonprofit and for-profit developers all around the state that are trying to produce and preserve units, both on the rental and the homeownership side. We work with CAP agencies, we work with counties, and community organizations that are providing emergency rental assistance. We work with public housing authorities, we work with local governments. A lot of what we do is funding that's done through competitive requests for proposals. And then the way that we allocate money is through a combination of loans, grants, and assistance programs. By the numbers, in federal fiscal year 2024, we moved just under $2 billion in total through the agencies, assisting more than 73,600 households. If you take a look from a dollars perspective by far, the largest is our home buying financing, over 5,000 households served and over $1.2 billion. The next is rental assistance contract administration, which is something that we do for HUD. And then you'll see rental production, our housing stability programs, and down the line. Just wanted to give you a sense of the range of what we do and their relative dollar sizes. Most of our funding from our core development programs goes out every year through what we call our consolidated request for proposal process. We just made awards in December, and one of the beautiful things about the timing of the process is that when you finish your work each session, we can immediately move that into that year's process in order to match projects to the money that we have available, even if we don't find out until end of May or perhaps sometimes June, or even in the last few years, there was the October bonding bill. So the annual process allows us to accommodate this process to match the money that you appropriate, the bonds that you authorize to projects as quickly as possible. We do this for our multifamily programs. We do it for our single-family programs. And one of the things that does the consolidated RFP is it allows us to take multiple, I like to call them flavors of money. I always think of that Baskin-Robbins case as a kid. Take multiple flavors of money, both state and federal, as well as the federal low-income housing tax credit. And instead of organizations that want to build having to go through an RFP for each flavor of money, we consolidate what's available for multifamily, what's available for single family. And then what we can do is take the proposals and figure out what's the best flavor of money and fit for things that are that score well down the line. And that really creates, I think, a simplified financing process when the financing itself can be pretty complex because of all the different mechanisms of all the different flavors of money that we touch. The scoring criteria also allows us to be constantly adjusting to the state's changing priorities. I think probably we call it a competition. We call it a competition because we have to figure out how to allocate scarce resources. It usually is the case that the vast majority of, say, multifamily proposals or manufactured home community infrastructure proposals that come in the door are all projects worthy of being financed. But unfortunately, even with the Go Big resources of 2023, we end up having to say no to about 3 out of every 4 proposals that come in the door. And it's not that we don't think they're good. We need more housing, a lot more housing. It's just how do we figure out how to allocate scarce resources. So as I said, we just did selections in December. Just to give you a sense of how we think about statewide-ness, we are always looking at dots on a map. To really understand where are the projects that we're selecting relative to what came in. I am happiest when we can fund things in every region of the state. I can only fund things that come in as proposals. We don't make projects happen. We rely on community partners to bring them to us. But this is an example of what we did. And I know that, the specifics of this can get small and hard to see, but I think the sense I want to give you is that between single-family, multifamily, and our manufactured home communities, this is just what a year of funding dots on the map look like. So this was $348 million that we announced in December for home ownership, or this is the 2023 selections, actually. So this was the first year with the 2023 funding. So $348 million, which was the largest selections ever, with 1,300 home ownership opportunities, always taking a look at the distribution between the metro area and greater Minnesota. 46% of the projects selected serve greater Minnesota. On rental, which includes housing infrastructure, cash that year, I believe, challenge, plus PARAF, our Preservation of Affordable Rental Fund, $150 million in state resources, 54% in greater Minnesota. Again, less than a third of applications that were selected. Manufactured housing, we did the largest selection ever, 19 communities, $21.5 million of infrastructure investments. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but when I say infrastructure investments, I mean undrinkable water. I mean seeping sewage in sewer systems, impassable roads so that garbage trucks and school buses won't go into communities, core utilities in some of these manufactured home communities. The next one is the 2024 map. So $191 million in 2024. After the big $348 million year, 587 single-family homes impacted, including 172 new construction, almost 1,000 rental units, a combination of new construction and preservation deals. 62% of the rental projects were in greater Minnesota this last December, including 186 units designated for seniors overall. And then we did 2.7 million addition in manufactured home community infrastructure improvements in 9 different communities. If you step back and take a look at funding selections from 2020 through 2024, you can begin to see how those dots on the map really start to add up. And so it's, it is good to see how, brick by brick, if you will, funding selection by funding selection, we can begin to get more dots all across the map. Since 2021, about 45% of competitive assistance has gone to greater Minnesota. But really, I want you to get the sense that it really is both a need and an investment that we're doing all across the state. And this map doesn't even include the home buyer mortgages that we do, the home improvement loans that we do, the home buyer education, or housing stability programs like the Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program. So what this does show is the multifamily and single-family consolidated RFPs, the publicly owned housing that has been preserved, and then the rental rehab deferred loan, workforce housing development, and manufactured home community development. I love to see dots all over the map. One of the things that Chair Port asked us to do is give you an update on what has happened with all the investments that were made in 2023. So first, just as context, if you take a look at the bar chart on the left, the blue bar was our base funding heading into the 2023 session, and the green bar was what we did in 2023 together by our areas of work: preserving and creating housing, making home ownership accessible, increasing housing stability, and other programs. And then the pie chart on the right just shows the split between capital, housing stability, home ownership, and others. The 2023 session doubled the number of programs that Minnesota Housing administers. I just make that point, but we'll list it out for you on the next slide. The first column were existing programs that the agency has operated, many of them for quite a long time. Then you have in the second column all the new programs from 2023, plus we popped in a new one in 2024. And then we had some unique legislatively named grants and other programs, and then a couple more legislatively named grants in 2024. And then just the last column were other new things that we have been working on in the meantime as well. So just give you a sense of, it's really, 2023 is the difference between the first column and the first column plus everything else. We've been busy, I think is probably the most succinct way to summarize it. So recently completed funding opportunities. The agency stood up and shut down the agency First Generation Down Payment Assistance Program. In 2024, we operated that program for, I think, a little over 9 months, $50 million. We let out the Greater Minnesota Workforce Housing Development Program that got a very large one-time addition for a total of $39 million. We did the first round of GeoBond public housing preservation, $39.5 million. We did capacity building grants at $5 million. We currently have selections pending on, I think I'm going to say the last tranche of family homeless prevention and assistance, because we've done that in multiple stages, as well as the Homework Starts with Home program. And as you mentioned, Senator Dziedzic high-rise sprinkler system program for $6 million. In the meantime, we also have completed our second year of collecting contributions through the State Housing Tax Credit Program. In 2024, we had people contribute more than the cap of $11.6 million, which yielded $9.9 million to contributors in credits. And then the work after the collection of funds is getting those funds either to designated projects or to a general pool. We have been building teams of people, program guides, and RFPs. So we have RFPs opening soon for the Local Housing Trust Fund, Homeownership Investment Grants, Public Housing Round 2, which is the cash in lieu of GO bonds. We had to do some program modifications to be able to take full advantage of it being cash and not bonds. The Bring It Home Rental Assistance Program, Chair Port, that you referenced earlier. The Greater Minnesota Tier 2 Cities grants, which are a part of the statewide affordable housing aid available specifically to small cities. I think it's 10,000 people and under. Greater Minnesota Infrastructure Grants, that's to help cities do roads and sewers and utilities in advance of the construction of new housing. And then the Community Stabilization, NOAA, and Distressed Properties Fund that was modified from 2023 in 2024. You can use the QR code and get to our webpage that talks about the funding opportunities that are available. So over 70% of the biennium funding is committed. If you take a look at these charts, what you'll see is that where you put money into existing programs, it is nearly all committed, the second bar. Where it's new programs, we're hard at work. We need to, get more of that dark blue, but this is where we're building from scratch. And where there were named grantees, where there wasn't as much in-house work that needed to be done, we've got the vast majority of the named grantee grants executed. I'm actually proud, and I would just take a moment to thank the staff back home at Minnesota Housing. We've added staff to the team. Like I said, we did some restructuring, but they really just have continued to crank it out, for which I am very, very, very grateful. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. This is Corinne. She's a resident at Bickham Court, previously known as Perspectives in St. Louis Park. Perspectives hit the news last year when they announced that they were filing for bankruptcy. This is a nonprofit that had been serving moms in recovery for a long time and owned 4 apartment buildings in St. Louis Park. And the residents, like Corinne, got a letter from Perspectives saying, we're unsure about the financial future of our organization, which immediately created fear in the lives of all those residents, that might impact their residential future, their housing stability, their family's future. What was amazing is in a relatively short time, a nonprofit called Trellis was able to step in, make a below-market offer that was accepted by Perspectives with a commitment to keep these properties in service for the residents that they serve. It is remarkable to me because Trellis was able to get a preservation application into our RFP process in July. They closed on the financing for the ownership of those properties in August. So they were doing all of that in short order. And in December, on a day slightly less chilly than today, we were out in the parking lot for these buildings, celebrating with families and with Trellis and others the fact that they wouldn't lose their homes. And in fact, their homes and their communities would be improved. That's what housing infrastructure bonds do. They make sure that folks like Corinne and her family have a safe, stable, high-quality place to live in their community. I love this picture. This is courtesy of the Virginia HRA. Dana, who works there, talked about the affordable rental market is dire for many seniors in rural Minnesota, and many of them have nowhere else to go. We awarded the Virginia HRA $5.75 million to rehabilitate the Columbia Rocheleau, and forgive me, Rangers, if I got that wrong, the Columbia Rocheleau apartments. And, without these repairs, the HRA director said the units would be lost, that they just desperately needed those repairs. I know that Senator Abler knows this well. 68% of senior renters pay more than 30% of their income in rent, and that's about 84,000 seniors, most of whom are on a fixed income. And so when the rent goes up, their ability to just pay for other basic things is diminished. In total, this year, we did $39.5 million from the public housing preservation program. We call it POP. And that, again, was the GEO bonds. That allows us to preserve 1,641 apartments and townhomes all across the state. 15 of the 18 projects that we selected are in greater Minnesota, and we're getting ready to open a second round for the remainder of the pool, which is a combination of GEO bonds as well as the cash appropriations. I also wanted to highlight the Greater Minnesota Workforce Housing Development Program. $38.6 million awarded to 27 projects, representing 832 units. So this is really market rate rental workforce housing. This is what mayors and employers tell me they desperately need in order to attract and retain employees in communities across the state. There are deferred loans for projects in small to mid-sized communities in Greater Minnesota, exclusively in Greater Minnesota. And since 2017, we've awarded more than $50 million for more than 1,500 units. Of note, when we did the $38.6 million in awards, we had received 48 applications for a total of $99 million. So the demand for these programs is great, and every single project is needed in that community. Also from our December selections, I wanted to highlight a project up in St. Cloud. I had actually gone up to St. Cloud the early part of 2023. I remember it was a very windy, snowy day, the way that when the snow comes sideways across the highway the whole time you're driving up to St. Cloud. Up at Center Care had organized people from across the greater St. Cloud community to talk about housing. When I walked into that room, it was packed. It was just packed. And after that meeting, I think I got chased through the lobby by Ryan Daniel. Ryan was not yet in the home building business, but he was so fired up by what was happening in that room that right then and there, he committed that he was going to start building homes in St. Cloud. And so they got an application in last summer, and we're investing $3.4 million from the Challenge Fund for 16 single-family homes. They're energy efficient. They're going to be done in 2 blocks of 8 in order to be labor efficient, and they'll be targeting households at 80% of AMI. They are a very enthusiastic team that's all fired up and so excited that they got funded in their first round in order to build homes in St. Cloud. The other program that I just wanted to highlight, I told you that we opened and closed the agency First Generation Down Payment Assistance Program. The gentleman that's pictured in the middle there was the first home buyer to benefit from that program. Or one of the first, I should say. As intended to close the home ownership gap, 80% of the households that we served with the first generation home buyer designation reported as identifying as Black, Indigenous, or a home buyer of color. And I just think it's really important to realize that the work Minnesota Housing does in the home ownership lending opportunity, 42% of our lending goes to home buyers of color, which compares to the industry overall rate of 23%. So we really outperform the industry in this regard. Another program that I wanted to highlight from our local government programs team are the uses from the affordable housing aid. Both the local affordable housing aid for the metro area that was funded out of the metro sales tax and the complementary appropriated dollars, which are referred to as the statewide affordable housing aid. My staff just loves their acronyms. I like the full words, so that's what you'll get from me. This is an incredibly flexible partnership of programs that really the local cities and counties and tribes get to make decisions about how they're going to invest these dollars. But everything from the preservation of distressed properties, down payment assistance, property rehabilitation, emergency rental assistance, and supportive housing initiatives. And talking to local governments, we expect to see it all. I think I also mentioned that the local housing trust fund grant program has an intent to apply that is, I think, running through this week. And since the local housing trust fund was created at the legislature, we believe approximately 70 communities have created housing trust funds. That's just in the last year. So we're expecting the dollars available for the local housing trust funds to be oversubscribed. Chair Port also asked for us to make sure that you are aware of all of the reports that we've been sending up. So I'm going to start with one that we just do and that I believe is included with everybody's packet, especially for newer members of the committee. I've had people remark to me that when they found this was the one they wish they had gotten on the first day. So Senator Coleman, first day report for you. It really does detail all of the agency's programs, who they help, how they help. This is a great primer on what the agency does and how we translate what shows up on your spreadsheets into our programs in terms of what we do. So I really want to encourage you to take a look at that. I just think it's a terrific report, and Senator Draheim responsive to some of the questions that you've asked over the years around preservation versus production and things like that as well. We're going to have our 2024 version of this completed on February 15th. We will get a printed copy of the 2024 report to all of you. And for those of you who love to do everything online, you can use the QR code. I am still old school. I will carry my dog-eared copy. This is a list of other legislatively required reports. I'm not going to go over each of them, but I just wanted to make sure in one place you knew all of them that are available. I do want to highlight a few of them that I think are very unique this year and worth paying some attention to. First, we were asked to estimate the need for emergency rental assistance. In 2023, there was an enormous both fast track and one-time infusion in the Family Homeless Prevention Program. That combined with the fact that we were still managing federal COVID-19 emergency rental assistance means that in 2023 and into 2024, there was more emergency rental assistance available in the state than probably there had ever been. But now we begin to return to pre-pandemic base funding levels. But based on information that our team gathered and the conversations that had happened on the work group on expediting rental assistance, the estimate is about 240,000 renter households with incomes at or below 200% of the federal poverty guideline. We know that 3/4 of them are cost burdened, meaning that they pay more than 30% of their income on rent. And half are severely cost burdened, which means that they pay more than half of their income on rent. So if you take a look at the number of months that are estimated that people are behind on rent, it's about, statewide, it's about a quarter million months of rent that people are behind. If you take a look at the average gross rent, it's about $1,350. I know for a lot of renters in this room, it's probably more than that, but this is a statewide average number. And the rest is simple math, that the estimated need is about $350 million a year if we were to help people with all of their unpaid rent. The report goes into those numbers and how we got there in a little bit more depth. This is a Senator Abler special request for the report on the analysis of low-income housing tax credit households with renters age 55 and older, a discussion that we've been having in his district for quite some time, since there was a year where there were significant rent increases that impacted seniors in tax credit housing all at once and suddenly. The key findings from the report are detailed here. Since 2014, about 20% of the properties that receive the low-income housing tax credit, that's the federal housing tax credit that we administer part of, for new construction or rehabilitation are predominantly occupied, which means that it's kind of designated as senior housing for people age 55 or older, which still makes me laugh. 55 or older doesn't feel too senior to me yet, but there you have it. About 41% of these units that have the tenant age data reported that receive tax credits between 14 and 2023 are occupied by renters who are 55 or older. So it may not be a senior designated housing. It may just be a tax credit property, but the number of seniors across these units is about 40%. Since 2019, about 30% of the renters who are 55 or older are cost burdened by their rent and utility payments. I mean, they pay more than 30% of their income on this. About 79% of all lower income households are cost burdened. So what that indicates is that being a senior is actually protective, probably largely because of Social Security program and other things like that for seniors. And since 2000, rents were increased to the maximum amount allowable for about a quarter of the households. So what that means is that many of the operators of senior housing or tax credit properties didn't do rent maximization in the year in particular where the area median income jumped, which allowed them to raise rents a significant amount. So we have about a quarter of the households that did bear the full rent increase amount. The report goes into details comparing changes to the area median income and rent to changes in, I think, Social Security over that same period of time. And so there's some interesting information about that as we think about senior housing policy. Another report that I wanted to highlight is manufactured home park infrastructure. I detail all the eligible uses. I mentioned them earlier, but this is oftentimes where there's just some really severe public health issues that are happening in these communities around infrastructure. We're also able to use this for the acquisition of a manufactured home community with priority given to cooperative purchase of the community in which they live. In 2023, and the report details this, 19 proposals selected of the 27 requests that we received, and in 2024, 9 proposals selected of the 17 proposals that we received. One of the great joys that I have in my job is being able to go and celebrate with a community. I got to be down in Medelia on a very warm day this summer where the Medelia Cooperative was celebrating the opening of their storm shelter. And that storm shelter would also be a community room for every day that it wasn't needed as a storm shelter. And one of the things that the residents told me is that they used to have to let everybody know something was going on, figure out who had a car and was home, and they had to get to a building that was a little ways away from where their community was. Anybody who's ever been through or been close to a tornado touchdown knows that sometimes you just don't have that time. So being able to have a sound structure right there in their community that has toilets and kitchen facilities and can act as a community room, it's just a huge addition to that community. So it's great to celebrate with that community this summer. I want to point to the report on workforce and affordable homeownership development. The 2023 appropriations were $60.5 million for the Workforce and Affordable Homeownership Development Program. Of note, the ongoing funding for the program is $250,000 a year. So a pretty significant infusion of funds. And really intended for homeownership. It can be used for the development costs, rehab, land development. The resources were allocated through our consolidated single-family RFP. We funded 36 proposals to create 439 units of housing, a total of $41.6 million. So we haven't used it all, but we've used a lot. That was a lot. For those of you who are new to the committee, happy to take any questions. Dan's happy to take all the hard ones. But I really want to say, I think, more than anything, how much I value my partnership with you, the agency's partnership with you, that the funds that you invested in 2023, we can't make buildings magically appear out of the ground. So, there is a timeline between our receiving the appropriations and being able to go to that ribbon cutting. But it doesn't mean that we're not somewhere in the financing or development queue with some of these buildings. You all know it because you all said it in your introductions. The need is great. There's not a community at large or small, north, south, east, or west in Minnesota that doesn't need more of what we do. And so I'm really looking forward to partnering with you as we figure out what the contributions of the 2025 legislative session will be for housing. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members, we'll turn to you all for questions that you have for the commissioner. Just want to reiterate that this was sort of the look back at what we have done over the last few years and how those programs are running and where they're at. In a few weeks, we will have the commissioner back to take us through the governor's budget proposals and a look forward. So just to let you know that that is coming. Senator Abler, I saw your hand first. So Senator Abler.
You get to the first question under this new administration. So anyway, and just to mention about Carrie, I think that just so debated if I interrupting you after your presentation, but I let it come to an end. But I think that if she had a last wish, I can't get through this. She would have wished for this, what we have here. So anyway, so sorry. Anyway, so God, I didn't think that was going to happen. Commissioner Ho.
Thanks, Senator Abler.
Mr. Kitzberger, time to talk so I can talk. You have spent a good deal of time with me working with the senior matters in Coon Rapids and some other topics. And you enlightened me just in the terms of the structure, what you do and don't do. I mean, you dispense money and oversee programs that are already set up by somebody. And I was just surprised, this is not a criticism, I was just surprised that when it comes to setting some of the policies for these very programs, they come from Washington or they come from the counties or whomever, but it just strikes me, I feel like expanding the role of your department, your commission, your whatever you are, to your agency to be more broad-based thinking about that. We had a random bill that came up last year about 10 stories in Anoka, which Anoka was worried about. Like, we didn't really want that one. And so I'm not necessarily a big government person, but some of the policies that be in place to protect the residents of some of these places and even establish the desire of the state to tell Washington to fix something. Do you understand my question? It just seems like, besides just randomly having this county have this policy and that one have that policy and some of these just, we think of something good. Is there a way to kind of, I mean, the Met Council does stuff and they're messy sometimes, but does that question make any sense, Madam Chair? So just, you can react to that statement, I guess. Thanks.
Commissioner.
Chair Port and Senator Abler, delighted to have you on the committee, and I want to give it my best shot. First of all, we are very engaged in the federal policy discussion with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, with the U.S. Department of Treasury, with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, even to some degree with the Department of Veterans Affairs, all of which touch in some way our housing ecosystem and some of it directly through us. I actually have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the National Council of State Housing Agencies, which are the MEs of every state and territory of the United States right now. And in fact, just Tuesday and Wednesday, Ryan and I were out in Washington, D.C., where we had an opportunity to sit with Congressman Emmer for a while and talk about the upcoming debate around the tax bill that will be happening in Washington, probably starting today. So we're very involved in bringing our voice and experience to the federal policymakers, both in the Congress as well as in the federal agencies. And many of the programs that we administer are a partnership with Treasury or with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. The question of whether or not the legislature decides to change decisions that have historically been local, and whether the state decides to put, the legislature decides to put a kind of a state thumbprint on that, is a conversation that I've had the opportunity to witness from this chair over the last 6 sessions as that conversation has begun and continued on. And, you know, it seems to me that there's been a lot of conversation about whether this is an area that's ripe for broad bipartisan support this session. I think what's important for me to say out of the gate is that we're not a regulatory agency. Our operations aren't funded with state appropriations. So if you were to dramatically change the character of the agency, we'd have to have a conversation about how we would fund the capacity to play in spaces that we haven't historically played in. We were created to be a housing finance institution, and our semi-independent governance through a board of directors was really to keep the governance of the bank kind of separate from the political dynamics here at the Capitol. But, you know, I mean, we have been involved in these conversations in the final weeks of session before about various policy proposals that were under consideration. My team and I would be, you know, happy to advise the committee on the ramifications of changing the Housing Finance Agency's role in this space. We understand that it's definitely a part of the conversation.
Madam Chair, just.
Did I get closer?
Senator
That's
Abler?
fine. Well, I appreciate that. And ANOCA doesn't want a lot of help with its zoning stuff. They're happy, so I'm not looking for that. But I guess we'll keep working behind the scenes. But I'm just really concerned that, especially in the senior housing thing, which is my exclamation point local issue, where a developer is allowed to maximize profits and just crush the residents. And so all they can do is like, well, they followed the rules, and I'm not faulting you, but like, that's not what we want either. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Abler. I appreciate you bringing up that question. It is certainly an issue that our committee will spend some time on this year. I think both the regulation that are in place, you know, to building housing and how different they are depending on which city or county border you cross, and how complicated that makes things, but also the enforcement of rules and regulations, and are they good for Minnesotans? Are they actually serving Minnesotans? As we've seen in your community and in others across the state, some questionable answers to that question. And I am, you know, delighted to report that we have spent the interim having those conversations with a broad coalition of people, including cities, counties across the state. And that will be a central conversation we will have in this committee. Senator Pa.
Thank you, Chair Port. I wanted to say first, thank you, Commissioner, for coming today to give us an overview, and especially so for this. As I'm reviewing this, I'm just looking at the information. It's very well consolidated, summarized, and in a way that is really easy to consume and to understand and to reference back. What an excellent job it was to put this together. As I'm reviewing this, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is what I wish I had during the interim to, as I'm having conversations with people, to reference back, because oftentimes I'm trying to reference back to some of the programs we had, the dollars that we gave, and it's not always stored in my head. But now I think I'm just going to take this with me. So thank you for that. I'm fairly new to the Senate, and so I'm wondering if in past years, if we've had this similar report accessible somewhere where we can, I love to analyze like what's the last 10 years, how it's progressed and where we've invested in, where we haven't, where our programs have been. I know there's a lot out there if we search online, but is there somewhere where it's consolidated similar to this? Because this is really easy to consume, again, really easy. And wonder if we had something similar like that the last 10 years or so.
Commissioner.
Chair Port, Senator Poe, the agency has delivered this report to the legislature. I think our workings on paper and in person got disrupted a bit for a time, but I think realizing what value it can be for those who find it, we remembered to bring it to you at the beginning of session. And I think just the circumstances of the last stretch, maybe we fell out of that rhythm. Maybe it hadn't been, we weren't a top-tier issue. My first year at the legislature, we were always ready to get up there as soon as agriculture was done. And so it wasn't brought to the conversation with the same robustness as we've had since we've had the Housing Committee. But if you want to do the history, I'm certain it's archived on the agency's website, or we can have staff bring you a collection of agency progress reports.
I would love that, Chair. I would love that. The only thing is it has to be well consolidated like this, because I will say that when I read through some of the reports, it's just way too much information in like 50-something pages to get through, and having it consolidated, summarized, just really well put together like this is really easy to consume again and to understand and reference back. So I appreciate this, and I will be using this, but thank you for the work that you've done in putting this together.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair Port, and thank you, Commissioner, for coming and speaking and always being available. I do appreciate that. Couple scribble notes I had from your presentation. The first one, the dollar amount that you received from the federal government. Can you just get into that? You touched on how little of baseline funding you get from us. Of course, we had the $1 billion present that you got. But I've seen a lot of federal dollars flow to the state over the last couple of years. Can you just update us on kind of where that was, where it kind of fits into previous bienniums, et cetera?
Commissioner?
Chair Port, Senator Draheim. I'm going to divide my answer into, I think, 3 parts. One is, what are the authorities that the federal government gives us that allows us to raise capital for home ownership and rental housing? So we have the authority to issue bonds, and we have the authority to allocate federal low-income housing tax credits. Those low-income housing tax credits are private investor dollars that go into housing, and they're the largest source of capital that we have available to us in order to create housing. And that is a relationship that we have with the U.S. Department of the Treasury. So that's not congressionally appropriated money that then flows to us. It really is the authority to raise capital in the private bond market and in the tax credit market in order to do housing work. The second are the regularly appropriated programs, largely through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We administer the Home Investment Partnership Block Grant. as well as do a couple other jurisdictions across the state. That allows us to invest in very affordable multifamily housing. There are other HUD programs. The National Housing Trust Fund is something that we touch. We touch housing opportunities for persons with AIDS. And I'm sure there are a couple more. I don't have the dollar amounts committed to memory on those, but those are programs. The National Housing Trust Fund is newer, but HOME and HOPWA have existed for quite a long time. And then there was the enormous infusion of pandemic relief. The agency operated the COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program in the latter part of 2020 using CARES Act funding. That was done when we were done processing in early 2021. And then the American Rescue Plan gave us emergency rental assistance in 2 tranches. We also got unspent funding from other states. In total, I think we moved over $700 million of emergency rental assistance funding, including the Treasury created the opportunity for us to use a small percentage of that to fill capital gaps that we've been doing over the course of the last year. I think the emergency rental assistance programs are all shut down, and I think the final investment on the capital dollars, those deals all need to close their financing in order to be considered fully obligated. And then we also ran a homeowner assistance fund, foreclosure prevention program with American Rescue Plan money. I think that was about $100 million, and that program is completely closed out with the federal government as well. So the 3 categories are ways in which the federal government let us raise capital, standing programs, largely at HUD, that flow through us, and then the one-time assistance that was associated with pandemic relief.
Senator Drahan.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. And maybe I would be interested to see how much federal funds come. Maybe when we go through the budget, you could have some numbers on what we received. I get the HUD emails, and Minnesota was on quite a few of the lists of funds that were let to the states. So my next question, Sarah Paul kind of mentioned how nice this report is, and I've seen them online on the, I think, Legislative Library has all the reports for the public to get to. Are all the reports that you have done online so members here can access them, and more importantly, the public?
Commissioner.
Thanks for letting me get my muscles back. Chair Port and Senator Draheim, we submitted the reports. Given that there were conversations around leadership, we sent them to DFL and Republican Senate and House housing leadership by their due dates. How they get uploaded, I have no idea whether that's something that your staff does when you receive them, or whether it's something. We transmit a copy to the Legislative Reference Library.
Senator Ham, I believe they are online or will be online in the next week or so. I'm also happy to forward copies to everyone on the committee.
And Chair Port, if I may, they're also on the Minnesota Housing's website, so they're broadly available that way.
Senator Drahan.
Thank you, Commissioner and Senator Port. And you mentioned the issues with leadership and the other body. So I'm just curious, as we wait through what's happening in the other body, are you meeting with legislators from the other body from both parties?
Commissioner.
Chair Port, Senator Draheim, thank you for that question. Yes, we just had an opportunity to meet Representative Igo in person. We have been in communication since he was designated to be the Republican housing lead, and we have an in-person meeting with him later on this week. We will prioritize making offers to newer members and doing one-on-one meetings as we are offering to do them with any or all of you to just make sure that everybody has kind of a sense of who I am as well as what the agency does, and I get an opportunity to hear what's important to each member and really be able to connect the dots between what we've funded and in folks' districts. So yes, I am looking forward to sitting down with Representative Igo on Friday, I believe, of this week, and we've been in conversations all along.
Senator Drahan.
Thank you, Senator Port, Commissioner. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, and I kind of figured that was the answer, but I had to ask it. And my last kind of subject, is about the programs that we have passed, and you went through the list. It's extensive, the new programs that we did. Of the programs that we passed in 23 and earlier, are they all up and running?
Commissioner.
Chair Port and Senator Draheim, the shortest answer is no. There are a couple of programs that we're busy getting up and running. And then I think we'd have to talk about what do you mean by running? If we have a program guide and we've issued an RFP, is the program running or is the program not running until we actually name the selections, or when they start doing the construction? So I think the answer is there's not a single thing that passed in 2023 that we aren't actively working on. Some of them are at various phases from done to in an RFP to an RFP is coming. We have a couple legislatively named grantees where it's a back and forth because there are things that we need to get from them. So there are a couple cases where we are working with a legislatively named grantee. The contract isn't executed, but it's not because we're not working on it.
Senator Draheim.
Thank you. I don't know how much time you're giving me, so I appreciate it, Chair Port. I guess the two that popped into my head, when my colleague next to me here mentioned manufactured homes. One is the North Country Co-op funding that we did to try to get the ownership in manufactured home parks. And I thought we had done before that a program or give you direction to start a program to finance the ownership of individual homes, manufactured homes, a finance product. So if you could just give us an update maybe on those two programs.
Commissioner.
Chair Port, Senator Draheim, we've executed a contract for $10 million with North Country Cooperative Foundation back in June. That, I believe, is for manufactured home community acquisition support for North Country Cooperative Foundation. I think I am going to need to get back to you on the acquisition of individual homes unless I can dial a friend over here, Dan, and if you have a quick answer on that one. We'll get back to you, sir.
Senator Drahan.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. And if maybe next hearing, if we could, if there's time, I think, I don't know how much time we want to dive into those two, but when I was reflecting on this session, what was I going to work on? And the two things I heard in district and around the state, I average 20 to 25 different cities a month, according to Google. I'm all over this state, and everywhere I go, I hear there is no middle class left. There is just no affordable housing left. So I think to get people on that pathway to home ownership, I think the manufactured homes is a key element on that pathway. And then the other piece to that is seniors. So everywhere I go, seniors don't know how they're going to stay in their house. And so next time we meet, I hope I can hear from the agency, what are we going to try to do for those two segments of the population? And I put the manufactured homes, you know, I think that's the start. You know, getting into home ownership, I think that's the most affordable form that we have here in the state for most people. And then seniors. A lot of seniors live in manufactured home parks too. And they can't afford to live. So what are your thoughts and your agency's thoughts on that? And what can we work together on that? And I have a whole bunch of questions on the North Country Co-op, but I think I'll save that till you have probably more specific data on how far the program has gone. You know, because I thought it was a pretty simple bill that we passed that I thought I was expecting all the money to be gone, to be honest. And from what I see and hear, it isn't. So if we could maybe have a portion of whoever has a gavel hearing on that, if there's time, to just spend 10, 15 minutes breaking down where we're at on those two programs, I'd appreciate it, Chair.
Absolutely, Senator Draheim. I'm expecting in 2 weeks, when I have the gavel back, that part of what we will do is have some of the groups that either organized or receive direct appropriations from us to come and talk through their programs. And North Country is for sure on that list, but I think that's a great idea. Senator Bolden.
Thank you, Chair Port. And I'm going to sort of follow along the same line of questioning as Senator Draheim to just ask about one more program, because I get questions about this in my district. So I'm wondering if you could share sort of the status of the fee-based home purchasing program, where that is at in the process.
Commissioner.
Chair Port, Senator Bolden, the fee-based home purchasing program was a legislatively named grantee to NeighborWorks Home Partners. We executed that contract in October of 2024, and I think they would be in a better position to talk about where they are on the status of use of funds.
Senator Bolden. Senator Lucero.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the questions, and I appreciate the commissioner coming down here. I always just appreciate the respectful conversations. The line of questioning that Senator Draheim was asking was along the North Country, and so perhaps you said you needed to do some research to get back to us, so my question might be something you can't answer now, but the interest, so on the funds that are part of that they may be out the door or on the way out the door, the interest earned on that $10 million, where does that go, or what happens to it before those funds are out the door?
Commissioner.
Chair Port, we follow the Department of Administration's rules on how we handle funds. I can get a technical answer. I know that some of the grantees have made the case that they should get it, and I know that we have worked within existing rules and regulations, and that's not the way it works, and I know folks don't like that. I mean, I'll just name that, but we do follow the rules as set out through the Office of Grants Management.
Senator Lucero.
Could you just briefly give us a highlight of what that might be, just a summary? What are those rules in terms of where interest goes, or et cetera, et cetera?
Commissioner.
I'm a high-level leader, sir, Chairport. I know that I have people that have worked hard on that. I don't get involved other than to appreciate where it is that we have important partners in the community and where you have interests because you've helped support those partners, to know that there might be some differences of opinion. We can get back to you with that answer.
Senator Lucero.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other questions? Senator Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions. My first one is, I was looking at the packet that was given to us, Commissioner, and first question I had was on the down payment assistance program, which clearly has been successful. Can you sort of give us a little bit of a breakdown in terms of like Greater Minnesota and Metro, like how we've been able to fund those folks and where that money has gone in terms of geography?
Commissioner?
Chairport and Senator Mohammed, we didn't bring that data with us today, but would be happy to follow up with you on that.
Senator Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. And then in terms of the Bring It Home program that we did, we haven't, like, can you give us an update on that program at all?
Commissioner.
Chairport, Senator Mohammed, that one is a program that has required a ton of collaboration with the folks who are going to administer it. We currently have an intent to apply open because we're trying to figure out whether it is going to be, a third of everybody who's eligible for it or all of everybody who's eligible for it that's going to ask for it. And so we'll have the results of the intent to apply period, which closes on this Friday, I think, the 24th. We have been working very closely with the key stakeholders on policy decisions and program design decisions. Technical things, the programs they run through HUD systems based on HUD rules. You can't run the state appropriated program through the HUD system, so really trying to understand how will funds flow, and how will information be reported back. Like, all of that has required a great deal of community dialogue. And so, we are in process. My hope is that we celebrate a family getting, rental assistance this fall, but a lot of it will be dependent on after we do our RFP, our contract execution, and then they need to have time to stand up a lookalike program to the existing programs that they have. So this is one that is an ongoing program. It's funded in the base, as opposed to something that was funded as a one-time program. And I think that especially for the Metro potential administrators, they're trying to figure out how to design a program where sales tax revenue may vary. And we want to make sure that we implement a program so that households have the reliability of a housing voucher that's intended to be available to them over time. So this one is taking longer, but it's just required our staffing up and a lot of back and forth with the stakeholders who advocated for it and the organizations that are going to be responsible for implementing it. You gave us some latitude in decision-making in the legislation, for which we're grateful. But we've really wanted to make sure that we've had robust conversation with the folks that are going to have to run it, to make sure that we're setting it up with a program manual and therefore an RFP and a contract that follows both the legislative intent of the program, but also is administratively doable for the entities that will be charged with doing it.
Senator Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Do you have an idea in terms of like timeline when we could expect for that program to open up at all, like February, November?
Commissioner.
Chairport, Senator Mohammed, we are moving our way towards an RFP, but the difference between our doing an RFP and awarding funds is different than the program opening up in each of the jurisdictions separately that will operate the program. So I suspect we'll see cascading go live dates all across the state, because each and every housing authority or housing and redevelopment authority or tribe that gets that money is going to set their own timeline. I think one of the things that I am probably uniquely sympathetic to because of the lift of the 2023 session implementation is that I certainly don't want to be in a position where I've awarded funds and now I'm starting to, when are you going to have it up and running? When are you going to have it up and running? When are you going to have it up and running? And for each of them, I think it's just going to be a different date. What it means for the Metro Council's HRA to implement what will be probably the largest share of the money versus what does it mean for a small HRA with one staff person who's implementing this in a smaller community in greater Minnesota. I just think it's going to be very, very different.
Senator?
My understanding was that the program was going to run like exactly the way the federal program runs, and those folks are going to administer it, correct? And so I guess my question is, what is sort of the difference in terms of getting this one up and running and implementing at least as fast as possible?
Commissioner?
Chairport, Senator Mohammed, one of the things that the advocates and legislative intent that's built into the legislation is to give the administrators of the existing HUD Housing Choice Voucher Program a choice. They can either operate it exactly the way they operate the Housing Choice Voucher, or they can choose to make improvements to it to make it better for families and easier to implement. And if they choose to do it as a lookalike, all they have to do is tell us that they're doing it as a lookalike. But if they're choosing to do things that are different from the Housing Choice Voucher, which is their choice, not ours, then they simply need to tell us what those differences will be. And so baked into the legislation, I think, was an appreciation by some that the HUD Housing Choice Voucher program isn't perfect, and that this was an opportunity for communities to make improvements, and that will be completely at the discretion of communities. One of the things that we have to outline in the program guide, which is why we're working so closely with the potential administrators, is what are the boundaries within which those differences could be that reflect the statutory language. And then, as I mentioned, the existing Housing Choice Voucher Program is administered in partnership with HUD. They use HUD systems to draw down money. They use HUD systems to report on who's served. They have HUD compliance guidelines and HUD site reviews. And so all of that will need to be replicated in one way or another for the administration of this program, because we weren't directed to just give the money to HUD to run in conjunction with their program, but to basically stand up a parallel program that could be a look-alike or slightly modified. It's more complicated than on the surface it sounds when you get into what might those differences be, both on the administrative side, but also on the policy side.
Senator Mohammed?
Okay, maybe I'll follow up on my own. I appreciate you, Commissioner and Chair.
I have a different question, but similar. When you listed the RFPs that are coming soon, that are opening soon, the Greater Minnesota Tier 2 cities and the Greater Minnesota infrastructure programs are both on there. I know that you've been working on them, and I believe RFPs are opening soon for those two. Can you tell me how long you expect those RFPs to be open and sort of when we would actually be looking at awarding those dollars? Commissioner.
Chairport, I am going to see if anybody has an indication for me of whether we tend to keep RFPs open for about 2 to 3 months. I mean, a lot of it depends. We've been in close conversation with the League of Minnesota Cities and other groups. Everybody wants the money to get out fast, but nobody wants an RFP period that's too short. So that's oftentimes what we're weighing as we think about that. What I do know is both of those programs are already oversubscribed.
I think that was sort of my point, Commissioner. Would be very interested to know as those RFP programs close, how oversubscribed they are. I expect them to be very oversubscribed, and I think that's a critical number for the legislature to know as we look at sort of what is the need across the state. So I look forward to being continue to be updated as we get those numbers in.
Chairperson.
Commissioner.
I know that my deputy commissioner is watching these hearings because she always does. But she is the one who's leading our local government programs team. We'll get back to you as soon as we have a sense of how long a period the RFPs would be open for.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Senator Draheim.
Thank you, Chair. And I think it would be helpful when you bring Senator Mohammed's information on the down payment assistance, if we could get it broke down by county to see where the money went across the state. You know, that program didn't last very long, and it would just be interesting to see how far it's spread out. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Draheim. Members, any final questions? Commissioner, final words?
Well, chairs and members of the committee, this is a good reminder that there's a set of muscles that need to be flexed at the beginning of every session. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to walk through the agency as well as the look back. Thank you for being kind in your questions and passionate in your advocacy. We look forward to working with you this session.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And though I started this committee with no background on housing, Senator Dziedzic trained me very well, and you're all stuck with me now. So we will not meet this Thursday, members. So our next meeting will be next week, Tuesday and Thursday, when Co-Chair Lucero will have the gavel. Those agendas will be forthcoming. And with that, we are at the end of our agenda, and there being no other business, the meeting is adjourned.